Imagine pouring your heart, your soul, every sleepless night into a company you built from nothing. Now imagine your own family, your brother, your sister, your cousin, plotting in the shadows to steal it all from you. That's not just a nightmare. That was my reality. I'm Elise Warwick, 38, founder of Nexus Solutions. For 10 years, I poured everything into that company, every dream, every sacrifice, every ounce of grit. I built it from a garage in Seattle, fighting a world that doubted a young woman could lead. But my family, the ones I trusted most, my brother Gideon, my sister Nora, my cousin Theo, they saw my success as their opportunity. They thought I was in their way, a hurdle to their ambitions. Little did they know, their betrayal would spark the boldest move of my life. This is the story of how I turned their knife into my triumph. When I overheard their secret plan to strip me of my own company, my world shattered. They documented my every misstep, twisted my vision, planned to dilute my 51% stake and push me out as CEO. But I didn't break. I fought back, smarter, faster, fiercer. In one swift move, I sold my 51% for $75 million to our biggest rival, Apex Innovations, and ensured my family's schemes crumbled. Hours later, my phone lit up with 25 missed calls, desperate, angry, pleading voicemails from the people who thought they could erase me. They learned the hard way: you don't betray the one who built it all. This isn't just my story, it's a lesson in resilience, in owning your worth. If you've ever been betrayed, underestimated, or pushed to the edge, this story is for you. Stick with me to see how I outsmarted their plot and reclaimed my power. Hit that subscribe button, tap the bell, and let's dive into this wild ride together. Share your own story in the comments. Have you ever had to walk away from something you loved to protect yourself? Your voice matters. Join me as we uncover the truth about trust, betrayal, and the strength to rise above it all. Let's get started. At 2:10 p.m., the bomb I'd set went off. Apex Innovations released a press statement: "We've acquired 51% of Nexus Solutions, effective immediately." The tech world buzzed, but my phone erupted first: 25 calls, 30 texts, a digital storm of panic from Gideon, Nora, and Theo. They'd thought they'd won, their secret meeting sealing my fate as a sideline CEO. Now, their world was collapsing. Gideon's first voicemail was pure venom: "Elise, you betrayed us. You'll pay for this." Betrayed them? After they'd catalogued my flaws, planned to dilute my shares, and steal my company? Nora's message was a tearful plea: "We're family, Elise. How could you do this to us?" Family? The word they'd weaponized to justify their greed. Theo's text was blunt: "You'll regret this, Elise. You're finished." I let the phone ring, their desperation a bitter symphony. Nora took to X, posting a thread painting me as the villain, claiming I'd destroyed our legacy for profit. The internet tore her apart, 500 replies, most calling out her hypocrisy. "Family doesn't plot coups," one user wrote, summing up what I couldn't say. I didn't respond, didn't need to. The truth was in the press release, in the deal I'd struck. My team, Lena, Marcus, the coders who'd stuck by me, was safe, their jobs secured under Apex. But Gideon, Nora, and Theo? Their 10% stakes were now under Jonathan Grant's control, their power gone. I sat in my apartment, watching the notifications pile up, each one a reminder of their failure. They'd thought they could erase me, rewrite Nexus's story with themselves as heroes. But I'd flipped the script, turned their betrayal into my victory. The calls kept coming, voicemails piling up, anger, tears, threats. I didn't answer. I didn't need to hear their excuses. They'd shown their true faces in that conference room, in those emails, in their plan to strip me of everything I'd built. The world was watching now, and they were exposed. My phone finally went silent, but the weight of their collapse settled in. This wasn't just justice, it was the end of the family I thought I had. By morning, the fallout was official. Apex Innovations sent termination notices to Gideon, Nora, and Theo, effective immediately. 6 months severance, a generous gesture I hadn't asked for, was all they got. Their offices were cleared out before they could return, their keycards deactivated, their emails locked. Lena texted me, "The team's safe, Elise. But your family's gone." Gone. The word hit harder than I expected. They'd been my brother, my sister, my cousin, but they'd chosen greed over blood. Gideon didn't go quietly. He showed up at my apartment that night, banging on the door, shouting my name until security dragged him away. "You can't do this," he yelled, as if he hadn't plotted to do worse to me. I watched from my window, heart heavy but unmoved. Nora stayed silent, but her ex-posts kept coming, each one more desperate, claiming I'd stolen their future. The internet wasn't kind, her followers dwindled, her lies exposed. Theo tried the legal route, hiring a lawyer to sue me, Apex, anyone he could name. They claimed I'd violated bylaws, breached fiduciary duty, acted in bad faith. Rachel Solomon, my lawyer, laughed when she saw the filing. "It's airtight, Elise," she said. "They have nothing." The bylaws they'd planned to use against me protected my sale. Their case crumbled in weeks, dismissed with prejudice, their legal fees a final slap. I didn't celebrate. There was no joy in watching my family fall, only a grim satisfaction that justice had prevailed. They'd thought they could outmaneuver me, but I'd built Nexus, written its rules, known its heart. They were outsiders, parasites who'd mistaken my trust for weakness. The lawsuits died, but their reputations didn't recover. Gideon's MBA connections shunned him, Nora's marketing contacts ghosted her, Theo's sales charm rang hollow. They'd bet everything on stealing my company and lost it all. I'd protected my team, my legacy, but the cost was steep. My family was gone, not just from Nexus, but from my life. The severance checks were their last tie to the empire I'd built, a reminder of what they'd thrown away for a chance at power they never deserved. A week later, I agreed to meet them at a quiet Seattle cafe, one last chance to face the people I'd once loved. Gideon sat rigid, his jaw tight, eyes burning with rage. Nora's mascara was smudged, her voice a whisper, "Elise, we're sorry." Theo leaned back, smirking, as if he still had cards to play. I looked at them, my family, and felt nothing but a hollow ache. "You thought you could erase me," I said, my voice steady. "You plotted in secret, twisted my work, my life, into a case against me. You were wrong." Gideon opened his mouth, but I cut him off. "You're not my family anymore. You're just 3 people who tried to steal my dream." Nora sobbed, Theo's smirk faded, Gideon stared at the table. They had no defense, no excuses left. I stood, left my untouched coffee, and walked out. The bell above the door chimed, a final note in our story. They'd wanted my company, my power, my legacy. Instead, they got nothing but their own regret. I'd won, but victory tasted bitter. This was the end of us, and I was ready to move on. Losing Nexus Solutions was like losing a piece of my soul, but it didn't break me. Instead, it set me free. I took the $75 million from the sale and started Horizon Ventures, a company dedicated to empowering female tech founders. I'd faced too many skeptics as a woman in tech, heard too many, "You don't look like a CEO," jabs. Now, I'm helping others avoid the traps I fell into: doubt, betrayal, blind trust. Horizon isn't just a business, it's my way of giving back, of turning my pain into purpose. I mentor young women, fund their startups, watch them build dreams without the shadows I faced. My life changed too. I married Owen, my rock through the storm, the man who held me when I cried over my family's betrayal. We traveled, Rome's ancient ruins, New Zealand's endless skies, places I'd only dreamed of during Nexus's grind. For the first time, I thought about kids, a family, a life beyond a company. A few months ago, a letter arrived from Nora, my sister. Her handwriting was shaky, her words an apology. I was wrong, Elise. I'm sorry. I read it, folded it, and set it aside. Some wounds don't heal, and that's okay. I've found peace, not in forgiveness, but in moving forward. Horizon's success, my marriage, the open road, they're proof I'm more than what I lost. I'm not just the woman who built Nexus, I'm the woman who rebuilt herself. Nexus taught me a hard truth: your worth isn't what others take from you, it's what you build despite them. Gideon, Nora, and Theo thought they could erase me, but I turned their betrayal into my strength. I learned to protect my dream, to trust my instincts, to fight for what's mine. You can too. If you've ever been betrayed, underestimated, or pushed aside, know this: your value lies in your resilience, your ability to rise. Have you had to walk away from something you loved to protect yourself? Maybe a job, a relationship, a dream? Share your story in the comments, I read every one. Your voice matters, just like mine did when I stood up to my family. Hit that subscribe button, tap the bell, and join me on this journey. Let's keep talking about trust, betrayal, and the power to rebuild. You're not alone in this fight. Together, we can turn our scars into stories of strength. Next time, I'm diving deeper into the lessons I learned from losing Nexus. I'll share 5 hard-won truths that saved my career and can protect yours, whether you're building a startup or chasing a dream. From spotting red flags to securing your power, I'll show you how to stay one step ahead. This isn't just about my story, it's about giving you the tools to write your own. Subscribe now so you don't miss it. Let's keep this conversation going. See you in the next video. Back in 2008, the world was crumbling. The recession hit hard, and I was a fresh software engineering graduate staring at a brick wall. 70 job applications, 70 rejections. Each no felt like a door slamming shut, but I refused to let it define me. If no one would give me a chance, I'd make my own. So, in my parents' Seattle garage, with just $6,000 scraped together from summer jobs, I started Nexus Solutions. My office? A folding table from Target, a second-hand computer that hummed louder than my dreams, and a stubborn belief that I could build something real. I was 28, a woman in a tech world that didn't expect me to succeed. I remember my dad peeking into the garage, his face etched with worry. "Elise, maybe it's time for a real job," he'd say softly. I'd smile, tell him I was close to a breakthrough, even when my bank account screamed otherwise. Every day was a grind, coding until my eyes burned, living on instant coffee and sheer willpower. The first 3 months, I had 0 customers, just a dwindling savings account and mounting credit card debt. Doubt crept in like a thief, whispering that I was foolish, that I'd fail. But giving up wasn't in my blood. I kept going, fueled by a fire I couldn't explain. Then there was that first investor meeting, a guy in a suit who smirked and said, "You don't look like a CEO." His words stung, but I looked him in the eye and said, "Watch me." A week later, he wrote a check for 10 grand, not because he believed in me, but because my demo worked flawlessly. That was my first win, a tiny spark in the darkness. I wasn't just building software, I was building proof that I belonged. That garage became my battlefield, where every line of code was a fight for my future. I didn't know then that Nexus would grow into a multi-million-dollar company, or that the people I trusted most would try to take it from me. But in those early days, it was just me, my dreams, and a world that wasn't ready for what I was about to create. Nexus Solutions wasn't just a company, it was my answer to a world that said small businesses didn't matter. My first product was a simple inventory management tool, designed for mom-and-pop shops drowning in overpriced, bloated software from corporate giants. I wanted something clean, affordable, intuitive, something that let a bakery owner focus on pastries, not spreadsheets. Coding it was like sculpting a dream from raw chaos. I'd work 18 hours straight, my fingers dancing across the keyboard, dreaming in Python loops and database queries. My bed was a camping mat next to my desk, my meals were ramen noodles heated in a microwave older than me. I showered at the local gym to save time, my life a blur of caffeine and code. The first 6 months were brutal, no revenue, just bills piling up. I maxed out 2 credit cards, and every rejection email from potential clients felt like a punch. Too small, they'd say, or we'll stick with the big names. My mom would leave plates of food outside the garage, her way of saying she believed in me, even when I doubted myself. Then came the skepticism, investors, mostly men, who'd raise an eyebrow at a young woman pitching tech. One laughed outright, saying, "Stick to something less ambitious." I smiled, showed him the demo, and watched his jaw drop. That shut him up. But the real struggle wasn't just money or doubters, it was the loneliness. I was alone with my vision, no team, no safety net. Late at night, when the code wouldn't compile, I'd stare at the screen, wondering if I'd bet on the wrong dream. Yet something kept me going, a fire that burned brighter than the fear. I tweaked the software, made it faster, simpler, cheaper. I cold-called small businesses, pitched to anyone who'd listen. Slowly, I built a prototype that worked, a tool that could change lives. I didn't know it then, but that software was the seed of an empire. It was also the start of a journey that would test my trust, my strength, and my ability to survive the ultimate betrayal from the people I loved most. 6 months in, everything changed. I landed my first 10 customers, small businesses, from a Seattle florist to a hardware store in Tacoma. They loved the software's simplicity, its price, its heart. When I saw those first payments hit my account, I felt a rush like nothing else. I celebrated with a burger at a diner down the street, my first non-ramen meal in months. It tasted like victory. By year 2, Nexus Solutions hit $1 million in revenue. We outgrew the garage, moving to a tiny office above a pizza shop that smelled like pepperoni day and night. It wasn't glamorous, leaky ceiling, flickering lights, but it was ours. I hung a Nexus Solutions sign on the door, and every time I walked in, I felt like I'd made it. I hired my first team, Lena Carter, a brilliant coder I met at a tech meetup, and Marcus, a customer service wizard who could charm anyone. With them, I could finally sleep more than 4 hours without the company collapsing. Word spread fast, small businesses talked, and soon we had 100 customers, then 200. Our software wasn't just a tool, it was a lifeline for people who'd been ignored by the big players. I started getting calls from investors, not the skeptics from before, but serious players who saw what I'd built. One offered $1 million investment for a small stake. I said no, wanting to keep control. That choice would haunt me later. But in that moment, I was unstoppable. I'd turned a $6,000 dream into a thriving business, proving every doubter wrong. My parents stopped suggesting real jobs and started bragging about me to their friends. I'd walk into that pizza-scented office and feel like I was building something bigger than myself. Little did I know, that success would draw the attention of the people closest to me, my family. They saw Nexus not as my dream, but as their ticket to power. Those early wins, so hard-earned, were about to set the stage for a betrayal I never saw coming, a plot that would test everything I'd fought for. Success didn't come free, it cost me everything else. For 10 years, Nexus Solutions was my life, my breath, my reason to get up each morning. I missed my best friend's wedding because a server crashed the night before, and I spent the day debugging instead of dancing. Dating? A few awkward coffee dates squeezed between product launches, fizzling out when I canceled for work emergencies. The idea of kids, a family, a life outside Nexus, it was always, someday, a dream I pushed to the horizon. I lived for the company, sleeping in the office when deadlines loomed, my world shrinking to code and clients. I turned down a job offer from Google, a six-figure salary with stock options, because Nexus was my baby, my proof that I could do the impossible. My friends drifted away, their lives filled with vacations and milestones while mine was a blur of all-nighters and investor pitches. I'd see their photos online, smiling at beach weddings or holding newborns, and feel a pang, but I'd bury it in work. My parents worried. My mom once slipped a note under the garage door, "Elise, don't forget to live." I kept it, but I didn't listen. The company grew, but I was shrinking, 15 pounds lost to stress, my eyes hollow from sleepless nights. I'd catch my reflection during video calls, barely recognizing the woman staring back. Yet I told myself it was worth it. Every new customer, every revenue milestone, felt like a piece of me validated. Nexus wasn't just a business, it was my identity, my worth. I poured my soul into it, believing it would last forever. I didn't see the storm brewing, how my family, the ones I'd soon bring into the company, were watching my sacrifices not with admiration, but with envy. They saw my devotion as a weakness, a chance to seize what I'd built. Those sacrifices, the pieces of my life I gave up, were about to become the foundation for a betrayal that would shatter everything I thought I knew about trust, loyalty, and the price of success. By year 3, Nexus Solutions was no longer a one-woman show. I couldn't keep up alone, coding, pitching, managing clients. I needed help, and I turned to the people I trusted most, my family. My brother Gideon, 35, had an MBA and a knack for numbers. I brought him on to handle finance, gave him a generous 10% equity stake. My younger sister Nora, 32, was a marketing whiz with a sharp tongue and sharper ideas. She got 10% too, tasked with building our brand. My cousin Theo, 36, was a born salesman, charming clients with a grin and a handshake. He took 10% to lead sales. I kept 51% of Nexus for myself, the controlling share, with the remaining 19% split among early employees and investors. It felt right, bringing family in. We'd grown up together, Gideon teaching me to ride a bike, Nora sneaking me her Halloween candy, Theo always the loud one at family dinners. I thought we'd be unstoppable, a family empire. Gideon hugged me the day he signed on, his voice warm, "Elise, this is our legacy now. We'll make you proud." I believed him, heart full, imagining us building something eternal. I gave them offices next to mine, handed over responsibilities I'd carried alone for years. It was a relief, like exhaling after holding my breath too long. I ignored the small warnings, like how Gideon's eyes lingered on my corner office, or how Nora's smile tightened when I made big decisions. I chalked it up to stress, to growing pains. Family doesn't betray family, right? I'd spent years in that garage, sacrificing everything for Nexus, and now I was sharing it with the people I loved. I thought they'd honor that. I thought they'd see my dream as theirs. But dreams have a way of blinding you, and I didn't see what was coming. My trust, so freely given, was about to become their weapon. Those equity shares, those titles, those offices, they weren't just gifts. They were the first steps in a plan I never suspected, a plan to take everything I'd built and claim it for themselves. With my family on board, Nexus Solutions soared to heights I'd only dreamed of. Gideon streamlined our finances, cutting costs and boosting profits. Nora's marketing campaigns went viral, our logo splashed across tech blogs, our name a buzzword in Seattle's startup scene. Theo closed deals with clients I'd never have reached, charming his way into contracts with mid-sized companies across the West Coast. In just 2 years, our revenue rocketed to $10 million. We outgrew that pizza-scented office above the shop and moved into a sleek, 3-floor headquarters in downtown Seattle. I'd walk through those glass doors, see our logo glowing on the wall, and feel my chest swell with pride. This was no longer a scrappy startup, it was a force. We hired more coders, more support staff, built a team that felt like a family of its own. I'd catch Lena, my CTO, grinning as she debugged code with new hires, or Marcus charming a frustrated client into a 5-star review. Those were the good days, the ones where I'd pinch myself, hardly believing what we'd built. Gideon would raise a toast at team meetings, to Nexus, to family, and I'd beam, thinking we were unstoppable. Clients loved us, small businesses, now scaling to mid-sized, swore by our software. We were saving them time, money, their dreams. I started getting speaking invites, keynotes at tech conferences. Forbes even called for an interview, but I turned it down, too busy running the show. Looking back, I missed the cracks forming. Gideon's toasts felt rehearsed, Nora's campaign started sidelining my name, Theo's deals came with whispers of new leadership to clients. I thought we were a team, a family bound by blood and ambition. I didn't see they were already carving their own path, one that didn't include me. Those $10 million, that shining logo, that 3-floor office, they weren't just signs of success. They were bait, drawing my family's envy, their greed. I'd built an empire, but I'd also built a stage for their betrayal, and the curtain was about to rise on a drama I never saw coming. The first signs of trouble were subtle, like shadows creeping across a room you think you know. Gideon started pushing for a restructuring of my departments, saying we needed fresh eyes on product development. His voice was calm, professional, but his words landed like pebbles in still water, rippling unease. Nora began critiquing my client meetings, her tone sharp. Elise, you're too technical. You're scaring them off. I'd spent years perfecting those pitches, closing deals with CEOs twice my age, but suddenly I was too much. Theo was worse. He'd drop hints in board meetings, casual but cutting. Elise's vision is solid, but maybe it's holding us back from bigger things. Bigger things? I'd built Nexus from nothing, and now my own cousin thought I was the bottleneck. I brushed it off, told myself they were just adjusting to their roles. But then I found Nora's secret, a $20,000 invoice for a PR consultant, hired without my knowledge, to rebrand Nexus in a way that barely mentioned me. I confronted her, and she shrugged. It's just business, Elise. Don't take it personally. Her words stung, but I swallowed the hurt, not wanting to fracture our family. Gideon started scheduling meetings with investors I wasn't invited to, claiming they were preliminary. Theo would laugh off my questions about his client calls, saying, "Don't micromanage, Elise. Trust us." Trust. That word started to feel like a blade. I'd catch them whispering in the break room, their voices dropping when I walked in. Once, I overheard Nora tell a board member, "Elise is brilliant, but she's not CEO material anymore." Not CEO material? I'd coded the software, signed the first clients, carried Nexus through years of doubt. Those red flags weren't just hints, they were warnings of a storm gathering, one I was too trusting to see. My family wasn't just settling into their roles, they were laying the groundwork to push me out. Every critique, every secret meeting, every sidelong glance was a brick in the wall they were building between me and the company I'd poured my soul into. I didn't know it yet, but the betrayal was already in motion. The worst part wasn't the red flags, it was how they made me doubt myself. Gideon, Nora, and Theo started excluding me from key decisions, holding meetings I only learned about after the fact. I'd find emails sent at midnight, recapping discussions I wasn't invited to. When I asked why, Gideon would tilt his head, his voice soft. "Elise, we discussed this last week. Don't you remember?" I didn't. I'd check my calendar, my emails, find nothing. Nora would chime in, all concern, "You've been so stressed, Elise. Maybe you're burning out." Burnout? I'd thrived on 16-hour days for years, but their words wormed into my head. Was I slipping? Theo would pile on, joking in board meetings, "Elise, you're the genius coder, but leave the big picture stuff to us. Big picture? Nexus was my picture, painted with every sleepless night. Yet I started second-guessing my choices, my memory. They'd present decisions as done deals, new hires, budget shifts, marketing plans, saying, "We voted while you were out." Out? I was always there, glued to Nexus. I found a board memo proposing a leadership review for me, drafted by Gideon. When I confronted him, he smiled. "It's just protocol, Elise. We're protecting the company." Protecting it from me? The one who'd built it? I'd lie awake at night, replaying their words, wondering if I was losing my edge. They'd praise me to my face, "Elise, you're the heart of Nexus," but behind closed doors, they were rewriting my story. I stumbled on Gideon's late-night meeting with board members, his car parked at the office at midnight. When I asked, he said, "Just catching up with investors." "You were busy." Busy? I was the CEO. Their gaslighting was a slow poison, making me question my reality, my worth. I felt like I was fading in my own company, my voice drowned out by their whispers. They weren't just taking my role, they were trying to erase my identity as the founder. I didn't see it then, but those moments of doubt were their weapon, sharpening for the final blow. My family, the ones I'd trusted with my dream, were quietly orchestrating my fall, and I was too blind to stop it. Last year, I flew to a tech conference in San Francisco, ready to pitch Nexus solutions to a room full of investors. I'd practiced my slides, memorized every stat, prepared to show the world what we'd built. But halfway through day 2, a migraine hit me like a freight train, blinding pain, nausea, the works. I couldn't stand the fluorescent lights or the endless networking chatter. I canceled my talk, booked an early flight, and headed back to Seattle, hoping a dark room and some rest would fix me. It was a rare moment of weakness for me. I'd pushed through worse for Nexus. As my Uber pulled up to the Nexus headquarters at 8 p.m., I expected silence, an empty building. I just needed to grab some files from my office, maybe sleep on the couch there instead of driving home. But then I saw them, 3 cars parked in the lot, glinting under the streetlights. Gideon's black SUV, Nora's red convertible, Theo's silver sedan. My family. My heart sank, a cold prickle crawling up my spine. Why were they here so late? I'd told them I'd be gone until tomorrow. No one knew I was back, not Lena, not Marcus, not even my assistant. The office was supposed to be locked up tight. I sat in the Uber for a moment, staring at those cars, my migraine pulsing harder. Something wasn't right. I thanked the driver, stepped out into the chilly Seattle night, and slipped my keycard into my pocket. The building loomed above me, its glass facade reflecting the city lights like a mirror hiding secrets. I told myself they were probably working late, maybe planning a surprise for our next board meeting. But deep down, I knew better. I'd seen too many red flags, Gideon's secret investor meetings, Nora's hidden PR campaign, Theo's sly comments about my leadership. My gut screamed that this was no ordinary late-night work session. I took a deep breath, pushed the glass door open, and stepped into the darkness of my own company, unaware that I was about to uncover a betrayal that would change everything I thought I knew about family, trust, and the empire I'd built. The office was eerily quiet as I moved through the lobby, my sneakers soft against the polished floor. The only light came from the conference room down the hall, a faint glow spilling through the glass walls. I heard voices, low, urgent, unmistakable. Gideon's deep baritone, Nora's sharp cadence, Theo's cocky drawl. My family was in there, but why? I crept closer, my migraine forgotten, adrenaline surging. I pressed myself against the wall outside the conference room, heart pounding like a drum. Gideon's voice cut through first. "We've documented every mistake Elise has made, missed meetings, lost deals, that botched demo last month." My breath caught. Mistakes? I'd carried Nexus for a decade, every deal a fight I'd won. Nora chimed in, her tone cold. She's too technical, too stubborn. Clients want a real leader, not a coder playing CEO. Playing CEO? I'd built this company from a garage, coded its heart, signed its first clients. Then Theo, laughing, there's a clause in the bylaws. If the board deems the CEO unfit, we can issue new shares, dilute her 51% to nothing. Dilute my shares? My control, my life's work, erased? I fumbled for my phone, hands trembling, and hit record. A board member, Clara Vance, spoke up, hesitant, Elise built this company. Are we sure about this? Gideon shut her down, she's a liability now, Clara. We're saving Nexus. Saving it? From me? Their words were knives, each one slicing deeper. They'd planned this, catalogued my flaws, twisted my dedication into a case against me. I stood frozen, the phone shaking in my grip, capturing every damning word. They talked logistics, board votes, lawyer calls, a timeline to oust me in days. I wanted to burst in, scream, demand answers, but I couldn't move. My family, the ones I'd given 10% stakes, offices, trust, they were plotting to steal my dream. The conference room light flickered, their voices a cruel chorus of ambition and betrayal. I backed away, my mind racing, their words echoing in my head. I'd trusted them with everything, and they'd turned my life's work into a weapon against me. This wasn't just a meeting, it was the end of everything I thought I knew. I stumbled out of the office, my legs unsteady, the weight of their words crushing me. As I reached the parking lot, my phone buzzed, the screen lighting up the dark. A text from Gideon, sent just minutes ago, expect a call from our lawyer tomorrow. Tomorrow? My chest tightened, the air too thick to breathe. His message was cold, calculated, like he'd already written me out of Nexus. I stared at it, the words blurring through my tears, my migraine roaring back. I got into my car, hands still shaking, and drove home in a daze, their voices looping in my mind, Gideon's, liability, Nora's, playing CEO, Theo's, dilute her shares. I needed proof, something beyond the recording. At home, I opened my laptop, heart pounding, and accessed Gideon's work email through an admin account I'd set up years ago, back when I trusted no one but myself. I wasn't proud of it, but desperation drove me. There it was, a thread with their lawyer, subject line, emergency board meeting. Gideon had written, we're ready to move on Elise. Meeting in 48 hours to vote on leadership change and share issuance. She won't see it coming. Attached was a document titled, Elise Warwick, Performance Review, listing every minor misstep, late emails, a client complaint from 2022, a tense board meeting. They'd built a case, twisted my every move into failure. Nora had replied, make sure Clara's on board. She's wavering. Theo's email was blunt, Elise is done. Time for real leadership. Real leadership? I'd bled for Nexus, sacrificed everything, and they thought they could erase me with a few emails and a vote. The lawyer's response chilled me, bylaws are clear. With board approval, her 51% is irrelevant. Proceed. I saved the emails, my hands numb, my mind a storm of rage and grief. They'd planned this for months, maybe years, hiding behind smiles and family legacy toasts. My phone buzzed again, another text from Gideon, we need to talk. Talk? He'd already planned my execution. I didn't reply. I sat there, staring at the screen, the truth sinking in. My family wasn't just betraying me, they were stealing my life's work, and they thought I'd never fight back. 10 years of my life, built on trust, shattered in one night. Gideon, Nora, Theo, the people I'd loved, shared my dream with, given everything to, had turned against me. Their voices, their emails, their texts were a chorus of betrayal, each word a dagger in my heart. I'd built Nexus from nothing, coded its soul, carried it through every storm, and they thought they could erase me? I sat in my dark apartment, the laptop screen glowing, my phone silent now but heavy with Gideon's lies. My hands shook, not just from anger, but from grief. Family was supposed to mean safety, loyalty, love. Instead, they'd catalogued my flaws, plotted my downfall, planned to strip me of my own creation. I felt like I was drowning, my identity as Nexus's founder slipping away. Who was I without this company? The one thing I'd sacrificed everything for, friends, love, a life, was now a battlefield. I didn't sleep that night, their words echoing, my world upended. But somewhere in that pain, a spark ignited. They thought I'd crumble. They were wrong. I wasn't just Elise Warwick, the betrayed sister. I was the founder, and I'd fight to protect what was mine. The shock of my family's betrayal could have broken me, but it didn't. Their voices, Gideon's cold calculations, Nora's biting critiques, Theo's smug plans to dilute my shares, lit a fire in me instead. They thought they'd cornered me, but I wasn't done fighting. I drove home that night, my mind racing, their recorded meeting playing on a loop. By 10 p.m., I was on the phone with Rachel Solomon, my lawyer, a woman who'd seen me through every Nexus contract. I told her everything, the secret meeting, the bylaws clause, their plan to oust me in 48 hours. My voice shook, but Rachel was calm, her words like steel. Elise, you still own 51%. You're in control. They can't touch you unless you let them. Control. That word snapped me back. I wasn't the victim here, I was the founder, the one who'd built Nexus from a garage. Then I called Lena Carter, my CTO, the only person at Nexus I still trusted completely. I met her at a diner at midnight, the kind with sticky tables and neon signs. I'm selling my shares, I said, but I need to know the team's safe. Lena's eyes were fierce. We're with you, Elise, no matter what. Her loyalty grounded me, gave me the strength to plan my next move. I knew who to call, Jonathan Grant, CEO of Apex Innovations, our biggest rival. They'd tried to buy Nexus 2 years ago, and I'd said no. Now, I needed them. I left Jonathan a voicemail at 1 a.m., it's Elise Warwick. We need to talk. Tomorrow. I wasn't just reacting, I was rewriting the game. Gideon, Nora, and Theo thought they'd outsmarted me, but they'd forgotten who I was. I'd spent a decade outmaneuvering skeptics, investors, competitors. This wasn't surrender, it was strategy. I lay awake, mapping every step, protect my team, secure my legacy, make my family pay for their betrayal. The pain was still there, raw and heavy, but it fueled me. They wanted my company? Fine. But they'd get it on my terms, not theirs. By dawn, I was ready to turn their plot into my triumph, a move they'd never see coming. At noon, I walked into a quiet hotel bar on the outskirts of Seattle, my heart pounding but my face a mask of calm. Jonathan Grant was already there, sitting in a corner booth, his suit sharp, his expression unreadable. Apex Innovations had been Nexus's shadow for years, always one step behind our software, always hungry for our market share. Now, I was offering them the keys to my kingdom. I slid into the booth, looked him in the eye, and said, I'm selling my 51% stake in Nexus Solutions for $75 million. Jonathan raised an eyebrow, but I kept going. There's a condition, you fire my brother Gideon, my sister Nora, and my cousin Theo the moment the deal closes. Keep my engineering team, my CTO Lena, everyone else who's loyal. My voice was steady, each word deliberate. Jonathan leaned back, sipping his coffee, processing. That's a steep price, Elise, he said finally, and a bold demand. I didn't flinch. It's a steal, and you know it. Nexus is worth twice that, and my team's the best in the industry. I laid out the numbers, our $10 million revenue, our client base, our software's edge. I could see the gears turning in his head. He knew this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance to crush a rival and claim our talent. But then his voice softened. I'm sorry it's come to this, Elise. Family's supposed to have your back. I swallowed the lump in my throat, nodded. They made their choice. Now I'm making mine. We shook hands, a silent agreement that this was more than business, it was justice. Jonathan promised to have his lawyers draft the contract by morning. As I left the bar, the weight of my decision settled in. I was giving up Nexus, the company I'd bled for, but I wasn't losing. I was taking control, ensuring my family's betrayal cost them everything. They thought they could erase me, but I was about to rewrite the ending. Driving away, I felt a strange calm, like a soldier before battle. This wasn't the end of my story, it was the start of their reckoning. 24 hours later, I sat in Rachel Solomon's office, the contract spread before me like a map to my freedom. The room was quiet, just the hum of the air conditioner and the scratch of my pen as I initialed each page. Jonathan Grant sat across from me, his lawyer beside him, both watching me with a mix of respect and curiosity. $75 million for my 51% stake in Nexus Solutions, a number that would have thrilled me years ago, but now it felt like the price of my heart. Rachel had reviewed every clause, ensuring my team was protected, my family's termination guaranteed. It's ironclad, she said, her voice steady. They can't fight this. I nodded, my hand hovering over the final signature line. This was it, the moment I'd hand over my life's work to Apex Innovations, the rival I'd once vowed to outrun. I thought of the garage, the ramen nights, the first 10 customers, Lena's grin when we hit $1 million in revenue. Nexus was my soul, built from every sacrifice, every dream. Signing meant letting go, but it also meant winning. Gideon, Nora, and Theo would lose their power, their stakes, their smug victory. I pressed the pen down, my signature bold and final. At 11:58 a.m., the wire transfer hit my account, $75 million, a number that flashed on my phone like a silent explosion. I stared at it, feeling no joy, only resolve. Jonathan stood, extended his hand. You're a hell of a negotiator, Elise, he said. I shook his hand, my grip firm. Keep my team safe, I replied. He nodded, a promise in his eyes. Rachel squeezed my shoulder, her pride unspoken but clear. I left the office, the contract sealed, my control relinquished but my power reclaimed. Nexus was no longer mine, but neither was it theirs. My family thought they'd outplayed me, but I just checkmated them. They'd wake up to a press release, their jobs gone, their plans in ashes. I wasn't the naive sister they'd underestimated, I was the founder who'd built an empire and knew how to protect it, even if it meant burning it down to save it. That afternoon, I returned to Nexus Solutions one last time. I walked through the glass doors, past the logo I'd designed, into the office I'd called home for a decade. My team was working, unaware of the storm I'd just unleashed. I packed my office, photos of our first hackathon, a mug Lena gave me, awards from tech conferences. 10 years of my life fit into one small box. I ran my fingers over my desk, remembering sleepless nights, triumphs, tears. This place was my heart, but it was tainted now, poisoned by my family's greed. I took one last look, then dropped my keycard on the reception desk, the click echoing in the empty lobby. As I walked out, the Seattle skyline stretched before me, gray and unyielding. I felt hollow, but not defeated. I'd given up Nexus to save myself, to protect my team, to ensure Gideon, Nora, and Theo paid for their betrayal. They thought they'd broken me, but I was just beginning. I stepped into the rain, the box under my arm, my head high. This wasn't the end, it was my counterstrike, the moment I took back my power.